Alrighty, welcome back everybody to the 14th week of the JavaScript Tech Bytes session. In case you are coming from the web development course, welcome back to the 6th week of the web development course. Hopefully you guys had a good and fun and safe long weekend with friends and family. But this week we are back to the Tech Bytes grind and starting up the web development course once again, where we shall be having a lot of fun and getting into some more products and ideas. So without any further ado, let's get to it. In case you don't already know who I am, guys, my name is Rayan Siddiqui. I am a senior right now at James B. Conant High School, doing online school just like you guys. I am a pretty big coding enthusiast, made a couple different apps for the App Store, made a dozen different websites. All I love to program and expand my knowledge, and I'm now really looking towards the content creation side in terms of I'm doing a talk show with my friends about sports, writing articles, posting some YouTube videos as well on the side. And all in all, if you want to learn more about me, feel free to check me out on my website at rayansiddiqui.com. All right, so let's get down to today's agenda. So first thing we're going to be doing is talking about just recapping our new schedule, make sure we're all on the same page. Then we're going to get down to our daily fun fact relating the programming language which we are studying to a relatable fact in the real world. And then thirdly, we're going to get down and discuss our new calculator project which we will be starting today. And then we're going to go over a code template I'm providing you guys to get started, and we'll go over all of that good stuff. However, first, we got to do a quick reminder just so we all know what's happening, that the month of September has started, as we all know. Today is currently September 9th. Yes, September 9th. And we are starting our web development course at 3 p.m. Now, something which I did previously mention is that all of our courses will now be starting at 3 p.m., meaning that the web development course, the intro to programming course, the Hack Central event, which we had yesterday, that started at 3 p.m. as well. So all of our programs through the Tech Bytes grant, which we do, are all going to be starting at 3 p.m., and the days are still the same. So as we can see right here with the highlighter tool, that all the Wednesdays are still our web development course. We will be having no intro to programming course next Monday. However, the following Monday we shall. And then next Friday, we will be having our Team Plays trivia as well. And as you guys can see, tomorrow, we have our Intro to Programming course as well. So just a little bit flip-flopping because of that Labor Day. All right, so let's talk about today's cool JavaScript fun fact of the day. That being the statement that you can control a Tesla electric vehicle with the programming language of JavaScript. Now let's just digest that piece by piece. We're saying that we can control a car and some of its functionality with the programming language which we're studying. That's just crazy. So I don't know if you've ever seen a Tesla, but essentially a Tesla is an electric vehicle which has a lot of cool and quirks with technology. It is a very technologically advanced car. And consequently, we can use our programming experience to do fun stuff with the car. Now, what do I exactly mean? How is that even possible? Well, remember 2 weeks ago, we had a fun fact about the further applications about the language of JavaScript in the terms that we can use it to make apps for the App Store. We can use a server-side language called Node.js. Well, here is where it comes into play. We can use that idea of Node.js and communicating with the server and our programming language of JavaScript along with an API in order to control a Tesla. Now, an API is something which we've brushed over previously in these courses but haven't really gone into depth with today. So I just want to take a quick moment to explain what that is. So an API is an acronym, and it stands for an Application Programming Interface. Now, an API is something which we programmers can use to make our lives easier, and they're very useful for us to retrieve and get data from different places. So give you an example with the Tesla one, we are using an API to communicate with our Tesla car, and then we are using the API to retrieve information about the status of whether, say, we want to honk the car, we want to maybe flash on and off the blinkers, we want to see the car's location via a map. So an API allows us to access that type of information, and then Node.js is where the actual communication within the car and our tablet or wherever device we're using is happening. So it just goes to show us once again that it is truly crazy how we can use the language which we're studying in such a maybe it's practical if you have a Tesla, something pretty, it's not that advanced. There are some examples outside which you can find on the internet of how people have done it. There's some good YouTube videos on this as well. But it just goes to show us at the end of the day that what we're learning is something which is very practical, and just reiterating the fact that JavaScript and the Python language, which we learn in our Intro to Programming course, the applications and the uses which they have in the real world are truly endless. So I just got a list of some here examples which we can do with some JavaScript functions, aka methods. Remember, functions and methods are synonyms for one another. We can honk, flash the light, see the car's location, and there's even a feature for us to code an aspect where we can move the car back and forth. But it's not that advanced in the sense that we can't truly just drive the car using JavaScript, because we do need a human inside of the car for the minimum. But yeah, hopefully you guys like that interesting fact. All right, now let's talk about our next project, that being the calculator project. Now, whatever the name applies, that's what we're doing essentially. We're going to be creating our own calculator in JavaScript using HTML, making it look nice through CSS as well. So here's the basic idea. We have a calculator which can perform basic arithmetic operations. So we're looking for a calculator which we can code, which can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, maybe even get to a point where we can add exponents, some radicals as well, and maybe take it an even step further by doing some trigonometry functions. If you are in that math class, I'm not sure, but if you aren't, basically we can do some sine, cosine, tangent, but that's for a really further extension, nothing to worry about right now. And then some of the core concepts which we shall be focusing on with this new project are, like the Jeopardy game, variables, functions, loops, and parameters. So over the past 3.5, 4 weeks almost, we spent the 4 weeks coding and making our Jeopardy game. In case you aren't sure what that is, you can always find further information and the finished version on the Google Classroom in the weekly recaps. And also you can find, if you're interested in finding out how we made it, you can go to the Schaumburg Library's YouTube channel and find our Tech Bytes playlist and watch us from week around 10 is when we started it, because we are in week 14 this week. So yeah, this calculator project is just a further extension of us diving deeper into concepts, creating a more familiarity with coding, typing more and more. You know, with that Jeopardy game, it was lots of lines of code, and the calculator project should be a similar number of lines of code. However, the only difference is that the calculator project is a bit more logically advanced, meaning I'm for sure going to be guiding you guys through everything and how to go about everything. But just a quick disclaimer that we're going to be talking more about our code, discussing more in depth about logic statements and all that good stuff. So without any further ado, we got the basic idea down of what we want to make. Let's get to it then. Here, let's load up the template. If you go to the website JSFiddle, I actually have a template which I will be dropping the link to in the chat. Now, you might be asking, why do we have a template? Well, if I did not give a template, it would be a lot more explanation of the code in the terms that there is just some basic beginner code which I've templated out like a skeleton, you might say, for instance, that you can easily start to code on immediately. So in the sense that, let me share it with you guys first, and then I'll open it up and show you guys. How about that? All right, the template link is in the chat. Once you're on the website, just let me know, we can get started. And I'll share my screen once again. So the template should look something like this. So this is what I got basically rolling for you guys. Got a nice header with our Tech Bytes calculator. And then we got some of the user interface and the web page sort of designed already. We got some digits 1 through 6. We got a plus and minus and an equal button. And once we make sure everybody's on, everybody's good? Everybody on the website? All right. So hopefully we are all good now. And yeah, so on first glance, this looks like a pretty basic calculator. Obviously, we do not have any CSS, hence the CSS tab is all blank. There's nothing here. And it is why the game looks pretty plain, to say the least. However, that is something which we can extend upon after we get the basics down with our game. So as of right now, the template which I've provided you guys, it can do the following operations, that being addition. So if I, for instance, put in 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1, it should give us the answer 2, which it does. So if I do 2 plus 3, it should give us 5, and there we go. And if we try to do subtraction, we will see that it doesn't work. Well, that's because that part is where we're going to get started coding today. And I did not want to code the whole calculator. Just wanted to provide a basic template so that we can further our understanding and get a good grasp as well. So let's go over the basic code just to make sure we're on the same page. Firstly, we got the HTML. We got a header tag just for our name. And then we got a bunch of buttons, obviously because we can click them, and then which display a number, as we can see. And then as we can see in the onClick function, in the onClick area, we are calling a function called doOutput. Now this doOutput function is accepting two parameters. The first parameter being the number which is being entered, and the second parameter telling us if here we go. The number or value which we are passing in is either a number or it is an operation. So a number would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and an operation would be subtraction, addition, multiplication, subtraction, all that good stuff. So as we can see, we're passing it into as a parameter. So our number or operation is accepted as val parameter, and then our telling us whether it is a number or an operation is accepted as a type parameter name. Remember, these are just variables, guys, which are being transferred as values. That idea of using parameters, creating our code, and making it more efficient. And so that is HTML. We went over the doOutput function. We have some global variables. Remember, these are global variables because they are outside of the brackets of our functions. They aren't located literally inside of our functions. And then we got this display function right here. Now, this display function is pretty important because it is what is allowing us to make sure that whatever we are adding is being added onto the right and not being added onto a random place. Remember, this is a label, a paragraph ID, which we are manipulating using the DOM, the document object model, which we've learned about and used last time as well. So through using this, we make sure that we can add our numbers towards the right. So that is what this display function does. Nothing which we have to worry about for right now with this function, but something we shall talk about more in depth in the future. And then lastly, we have our answer function, which is where all the calculations are being made. So I got this basic skeleton made of the answer function, and right now it's only doing the operation of addition, that being because we haven't added any other operations. And as we guys can see, we are performing and storing the operation. So we're storing our answer in an answer variable, which is, I believe, a global variable, and a local variable right there. And then we are just assigning it to the sum of the two numbers which we have entered. And then we just display the output. So say we're doing 2 plus 2. Well, our answer variable is going to do 2 plus 2, and then it is going to display and manipulate the DOM in our HTML in order to display the answer. And then towards the end, we are just resetting, making sure that our number variables are set to a nil value, essentially a non-numerical value, to make sure that our calculations are done correctly for the future. So for now, I just want to make sure that we all are understanding that the basic gist is that we don't have to worry about this function for now. But right now, what we do have to worry about, and not even worry about because we're in this together, but more focus on, is that this doOutput function is what we're going to be focusing on, and especially this answer function where we're calculating and giving the user the answer to their input. So if there aren't any questions, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A area. All right, so if there aren't any questions, I'm going to show a finished example before we start adding some code today, just so we have a visualized idea of what we are trying to aim for. Here you go, hopefully you guys can see that. So this is a calculator which I made a while ago, almost 4 years ago now. This is a project, one of the first projects I did in the language of JavaScript, fun fact. But this is what we're aiming for essentially. We want to make a calculator which can do multiple operations. So with this calculator, say we want to do 1 minus 6, it should give us negative 5, I mean. There we go. And how it clear again. Say we want to do 8 times 9, that should give us 72. There we go. Say I want to do the square root of 64. There we go. The square root of 64 is 8. And then how about we want to see, let's do this. If we want to see our previous answer, you know how calculators, actually get calculator right here. So you know how in calculators we have an option to see our old answer, which just came out? Well, I got a button right here called pre-answer, through which we can check out our previous answer. And then as an extension, I got some cosine and tangent, some trigonometry functions. So that is the basic idea. We want to make a calculator which can do operations if we wanted to. So hopefully you're excited to get started. All right. So first thing I think which we should tackle is making sure that our whole HTML is set up. If you do remember from our Jeopardy game, one of the first things, the first 1.5 week, 2 weeks, which we did, was just making sure that our user interface, everything was nice and that the game had some buttons on the screen. So today we're going to extend upon that and add some more buttons. So right now it looks like we got the numbers 1 through 6. How about we add 3 more numbers, that being 7, 8, 9, and then we can add 0 as well. So to do that, all we got to do is just recognize a pattern. Right now, it looks like we are using these buttons. So what I'm going to do is just copy this one line where I have a button, like so. And then something which I've talked about previously is this little line of code called a break, which is basically a less than sign, BR, and then a greater than sign. This allows us to indent and essentially move on down a row, and it allows us for our calculator to look much nicer. So I've already inserted one right here. So if we just go below it, hit paste, we have created a new button. So if I hit run, we can see a new button. The number 6 is made. However, we don't want the number 6 there twice, right? So I'm going to change the parameter which we're passing in. We're not passing the number 6 anymore. We're passing the number 7 in now. And then change the displayed value to a number 7 as well, like such. Now, if you guessed it, what we're going to do is just do the same thing for the next 3 numbers. So let's go 7, and then I'm going to go change the 7 to an 8, like such. Then I'm going to go to the number 9. And if I hit run, we can see that it's all looking nice and uniform with 3 different rows of 4 columns. And then if we want, we can also add the number 8. So I'm just going to use another break statement. Remember this, so we can go down the line. And then I'm just going to pass in the number 0. And if I hit run, there we go. We can see that it is being printed out nicely. And one thing which I'm going to do is to make it look nicer is move my equal button to after this number 9, just so that all the operations and equal sign are in one row or one column. Give everybody a quick minute to catch up. As always, let me know if you have any questions as we are going through this. It is definitely a much larger scale project, so no harm in asking a question. All right, so now once we have our HTML further set up, obviously we're gonna have to do some more as we add some more operations such as multiplication, division, all that good stuff. But for now, we got a basic idea down, which is nice. So if I hit run, let me just, oops. If I do, say, 9 plus 3, we should see 12. There we go. If I do 7 plus 3, we get 10. There we go. So we got our addition working. However, we still have to work on our subtraction. So in order to actually take care of the calculation aspect of performing the operation of subtraction, we got to go to our answer function. So to down here. Now, right now, we only are using one logic statement of checking if the operation which we have entered is a plus, meaning an operation of addition. But we gotta add some logic statements for what if the operation is not just addition. So what I'm gonna do is actually just copy this statement, head on over down, and now we have to use an else if. Remember the difference between if and else if? If is usually what we use for the first. If statement is when we use to check if something is true. In this case, we're checking if the operation which the user is using is equal to the plus, meaning an addition. Now, I was trying to see if anybody would remember, but remember the main thing when we are using if statements or while statements is that whenever we are performing a check for a condition, we always have two equal signs because we are checking if something is true. We usually have one equal sign if we are just setting a value equal to a variable. So now with that statement down, we have to change our operation to not a plus sign, but a minus sign. And then here comes some change of code. We're storing the answer which the user is requesting in the answer variable. However, right now it's saying that to do subtraction, you do addition. Wait, that doesn't make sense. We got to change this addition sign to a subtraction sign. And then you can leave this line of code be because that is just for displaying our answer. Give everybody a quick minute to do that. All right, so now if I hit the run button, and if we try to do a subtraction operation, it should work hopefully. But let's see what happens, all right? So if I hit 9 minus 6, we are still seeing the addition sign? Wait, that doesn't make sense. What if I hit equal? What happens? Wait, that's still performing addition? Wait, well, maybe I just said something wrong. Let me try it again. Say I want to do 6 minus 3. Wait, why is an addition sign coming up? If I equal, wait, 6 minus 3 is 3, not 9. Why is it still adding? Well, there's a couple of issues which we still have to address. So first issue being that we are still, when we have our minus sign right here, we are still passing in the parameter of an addition symbol. So the operation we're passing in is addition, when in reality it should be subtraction. So change that to a minus sign so that it's subtraction. And now since we are passing this value in as a subtraction, a minus sign, when we compare right here, it should identify subtraction as the correct operation when it is clicked upon. Give everybody a quick minute to do that. All right, so once we have had that happen, a minute. All right, so once we have changed our HTML and the parameter which we are passing in, let's try to run it again and see if it works. I want to do, say, 6 minus 3 again. Oh, looks like that the subtraction symbol is showing up. That's a good point. But if I hit equal, it's still doing addition. Let me ask anybody in the crowd, and if anybody has an idea, Arnav, and anybody have an idea, if what do we think is the issue? I'll give everybody a hint. It is in this do output method. So these first two lines of code are good. However, what's the issue with this line of code? Anybody have any ideas? All right, so yes, the main idea which I want to hit upon right now is that this line of code is incorrect because it's assuming that the only operation which we're going to do is addition. It's not taking into track that, hey, we have some other operations which can occur, such as multiplication, division, subtraction, addition, you know what I mean? So we have to essentially change that line of code to be a different operation. So let's think about what does that exactly mean? Well, if I share this again, we have to change the operation which is happening to the operation variable. Wait, 1 second. There we go. All right. So we have to change this operation to be accepting of any of the operations. So we can't just hard code it to only take in the operation of addition. So which one of our parameters is responsible for passing in the symbol of the operation or the number? That is the val parameter, the variable val. So I'm going to type the variable val in right here. That's the variable which is holding the value of the operation. Now, if I run this, we should see subtraction working. So if I do 9 minus 6 equals 3, there we go. It's like magic, but it's really not, because hopefully you understand why it's happening. 6 minus 4 is equal to 2. And a quick one more run through why this is working is because now we haven't hard coded our code to only work with the addition of only the operation of addition. It's now accepting any of the operations which we pass in. So essentially, it's checking that if the variable val, if it does not contain a numeric value, then the computer knows that the value variable is holding a operation symbol. And then using that operation symbol, guys, we can check and see which type of operation we have to perform when the equals button is clicked. So one more time, essentially, this is a pretty big concept which I want everybody to understand, is that once we have assigned the value of whatever value, that's a lot of values. How about I rephrase that? Once we have this global variable operation right here, we are assigning the value of this parameter called val. Now, this parameter val is only going to have an operation symbol, such as addition, subtraction, because we are making sure that it is only holding a value which is not a number, and that is done through these first two if statements, which are checking if the value which we've entered, aka if the content or the number or essentially the value which this val variable is holding. I should probably rename that, I think, now. Whichever value that is holding, if it is not a number, we know that it is going to be a symbol for an operation. And then we assign our global variable to that val, whatever operation is occurring, and then we use it in our answer function because we know that this operation variable is not going to be blank if the equals button is clicked. A user is probably asking for an operation to occur. Then we just compare our operation variable to check for whichever operation needs to occur. So in this case, we got our addition and subtraction working correctly. Now, for the last couple of things today, which I want to add, is that we are going to work on adding the multiplication and division operations today as well, because they are pretty similar to how we added the subtraction operation. Now, if you have already done this, you're doing great. You are already ahead. So what I'm going to do is copy the line of code where we added our subtraction symbol. And just to make it look nice, where can we add it? Let's see. We can add it right here. What I'm going to do is add that line and shift the equals button down below like such. And now we got to replace some stuff. We know that this operation is a multiplication symbol. On the computer keyboard, that is shift number 8. Once again, that is shift number 8 for that multiplication symbol. And then change the sign to a multiplication. You could make it that type of symbol, or even a letter X if that's what you prefer. And while we are at it, I'm going to also add the division symbol. So copy the line, paste it down below, change the symbol to whatever you like, and then this symbol to the division symbol as well, like such. And while you are working on that, I'm just going to shift some things to make it look a bit nicer. All right, there we go. That looks a bit nicer. And guys, if you ever get lost, ever have a question, you can always drop it in the chat. But if you ever have a bug after we code our program today, you can always find the finished and fresh copy of my code with today's code on the Google Classroom right here as well. All right, so hopefully you got those buttons created for our HTML. Now's the time where we have to actually code the operations. So what I'm going to do is essentially use that same logic. We're going to check in this answer function whenever the equals button is clicked that if the user inputted a certain operation. So if it's not addition, if it's not subtraction, it has to be either multiplication or division. So what I'm going to do is copy this else if statement, paste it down below, and check if the operation is equal to multiplication. Now, we have our answer variable, which is holding the actual calculation of what happens. But when multiplication happens, we have to change our subtraction symbol to a multiplication variable to indicate that we want these two numbers to be multiplied. And the computer will do that for us and display it using this line, which manipulates our HTML using the document object model. Now, once we have that, essentially, if you've guessed the next part to do the division part, you're rolling right ahead. Just copy that else if statement, change that symbol to the operation if it is division. Then we're going to perform the division operation like such. Replace the symbols. The reason I have made this template like this is that so we can understand it without having to do a whole bunch of coding from scratch. That's to make sure that we can get things rolling faster. Give everybody a quick minute to do that. All right, so now if I go on over and run the program, let's try out some multiplication operations. So say I want to do 9 times 9. We should see 81. Shabam, and there we do. Some excitement there. Hopefully you should be excited that it's working. Say I want to do, let's do 63 divided by 9. That should give us 7. Oh, one thing which I'm forgetting, this week we have not done multiple, more than one length numbers, something which we shall do next week. Sneak peek. But say I want to do 9 divided by 3. That should give us 3. And there we go. Say I want to do 2 times 8. It should give us 16. And there we go. We have successfully today added the feature to do multiplication and division and subtraction. And we have also worked on our do output function, making sure that we are not just performing one operation, but expanding our perspective and being able to do other operations as well through using our parameters, which we learned about. So yeah, that concludes our programming on this project for today. However, don't worry, we have a bunch of more fun and more code coming the following week. So hopefully you guys had a great time. Today we got some more of the basics down. We had some more operations. Next week, we are going to be going into depth of a new topic, which coincides with this project, essentially ties along pretty well. That being the idea of substring. If that sounds foreign right now, don't you worry. We will be going over it, making sure it all makes sense next week, and then we will be implementing it in our calculator project. Now, essentially, what this will allow us to do, since I've already talked about it a bit earlier, is that we can input multiple digit numbers. So right now, we can only do numbers 1 through 9 because we don't have that feature added. Next week, however, we can do multiple digit numbers. So we can do like 15 times 10, 15 divided by 5, numbers like that and operations like that to make our calculator even better. So all in all, we're going to be having a bunch more fun. Hopefully you guys had a great time today. I hope you guys enjoyed the daily fun fact and are enjoying this new calculator project. As always, be sure to check out the Google Classroom and have a great weekend upcoming. And I'll catch you guys on the next one, guys. See ya.